After two games, both of which were relatively one-sided, if we're to be honest. The first favoring IG, the second favoring TongFu. We're going the distance to a decisive game number 3 between these two world-class teams. And again, to the best of my knowledge, this is the first time these two teams have matched up in a best-of-3 Dota 2 matchup. And they're certainly making it count. IG and TongFu vying for a spot in our Final Four in Monthly Madness Asia. I'm AC, joined by Draskell. The band's coming out fast and furious. IG takes out Chen, Darkseer, band out courtesy of TongFu.
I'm really looking forward to this third game, and IG, a couple of members left without Ji Jing right there. That's a little uncharacteristic, especially of Asian teams. They're usually really good about keeping their composure, being very well-mannered, punctual. Part of the reason why we've loved casting them so far. I mean, people being here on time, like, you don't even know how cool that is.
Oh, I know.
Like, if you're here on time, ready to go, like, I was almost late, and I'm usually here, I don't know, like 2 hours in advance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that being said, I really love casting these two teams. They're obviously very high skill as well, and I don't think anyone could have asked for a better outcome. I mean, going to a third game in a best-of-3 with two giants of the Asian scene right now, you got to be happy.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of, I just want to point out, anyone who casts or works in esports, be it a caster, admin, or whatever, DK showed up 30 minutes early. All 5 members of DK were around 30 minutes early for their round of 16 matchup. I'm still picking pieces of my brain matter off the wall. My mind was so freaking blown. But anyway, as you point out, man, we got two heavy hitters. We got two teams. And you know, what's really exciting to be casting this tournament right here and right now, the International is just a month away. It's hard to believe we're already up to that time. And a lot of the Western viewers are beginning to make an effort to get to know these Eastern teams a little bit better. I mean, everyone in the West loves to watch the European and American teams, as do we. We've casted them a number of times, dozens and dozens of casts. But this has been a learning process for us as well, and for a lot of our viewers. So as we approach the International, too, this tournament has really shown us the strength and the differences as well, the different styles of Eastern Dota against Western Dota. And it's been a hell of a ride. And it's going to continue to be a good ride all throughout this weekend. Final bans are out. CK Lycan not going to be seen. Neither will our Naga Siren or Furion. No surprise, Lashrak picked up first.
Well, it looks like IG not going for the Ferrari Invoker for a third game in a row. I mean, they could potentially give it away to TongFu here if they want to take it. And already banning out one jungler, so Enchantress is really the only option here for TongFu if they want to go the jungle route. I'm not really sure, though. I mean, they're not picking unconventionally, I would say, but they're throwing a couple of curveballs in here and there. You know, the Bounty Hunter pick is something that we don't see too often. Ended up working out very, very well for TongFu in Game 2. And we'll see if they're going to be looking to do something like that again. I think it's always good to have those kind of heroes where they're not necessarily top-tier picks, but at the very least, you could kind of put them in a position where they can be successful, you know, and teams are going to be caught off guard. And I think the Bounty Hunter pick actually by TongFu last game was ingenious because they knew that they had the mid-game team.
Yeah.
But whenever you have a mid-game team, having a Bounty Hunter in addition to that is going to basically give you a much bigger lead, which also means so like you have a great mid-game team, which doesn't translate necessarily into great late game if you don't get enough accomplished, but Track helps accomplish that.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that the drafting was really well done by TongFu last game. Not necessarily an outdraft, but very, very clever stuff.
Yeah, I feel like TongFu had the more coherent plan, at least into the mid-game stage. IG, though, they had the team to beat that. They just couldn't give away as much as they gave away early. And I feel like they had a chance to really make TA pay for sending her down to the tri-lane instead of having her mid, where traditionally you're always going to have her. You want those early levels, you want the early damage, you want refraction to be leveled up early, and of course the ulti to come out gives you vision, as well as what it adds to team fight and chase potential. But either way, it worked out. Invoker is going to be picked up by IG. No surprise there, but I'll tell you what I think TongFu's up to. I think, well, it's hard to say. The Shadow Demon pick up early, knowing they're giving away the Invoker. I think we're going to see a duo mid. Hard to call it right now, still a lot of heroes to be picked. But Invoker, again, there's almost no doubt it's going to be Ferrari taking Invoker mid. Shadow Demon, when put together with another hero in mid that can benefit from the safety Shadow Demon gives you and has some way to either stun or close the gap between themselves and Invoker, a lot of kills can happen, and it can really just shut down a mid Invoker if you take a Shadow Demon and a strong hero to do that. We actually saw that when DK, I can't remember who DK played. It was in the round. Who did they play in the round of 8? I want to say, I cannot remember. Oh, Mineski Power Color. Mineski Power Color.
Okay.
Against Mineski, they did that. They had a Lich and an Animage that completely shut down an Invoker. And that's something we could see happen if they decide, I mean, even a Brew and a Shadow Demon, it's a little bit of a weird combination, but between the Clap, the ability to slow Invoker as he tries to get away, and the Disruption and Soul Catcher, of course, I think that that's what they might be up to. Enchantress is going to be picked up from TongFu, though, so they're going to be looking to do something in the jungle.
I think anytime you have an Enchantress pick up this early with a Shadow Demon, you have to think aggressive try. At least that's what I'm thinking, because whenever you put two heroes against an Invoker mid, yeah, they might have kill potential, but again, Ferrari plays Quas Wex. He doesn't play Exort, so not only are you going to have more HP, but you're going to have more regen through the damage that you're taking, even if you did go for the Shadow Demon and Brewmaster. Not to say that it's not a strong combo, because it is. You can disrupt, buy yourself the time for the Panda to get into position to throw out the Clap with the Soul Catcher on to make sure that you get the most damage output possible, but I don't think that they're going to want to commit that much to just keeping the Invoker down. I think they're going to feel much more safe in just having the Enchantress go with the aggressive try, have a Shadow Demon there, and with an Enchantress creep, a Disruption plus one hero, they can dive essentially any one safe laner.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't matter. So we're going to see a ban out of Animage here from IG. I think that's very clever. The three heroes that they have right now, in the late game at least, really going to be hard-pressed to deal with an Animage at this point, so that ban makes a ton of sense. And same with Enigma. I mean, right now, TongFu has a tremendous amount of gank potential if they do run for the try. I'm thinking they're going to add another to their try lane first. I don't think Brew's going to be making appearance in that lane. I think he's just going to be mid against the Invoker and try to get his levels up as fast as you can, get that level 6, and be able to pretty much force team fights. And I feel like TongFu, again, is going to go for more of a mid-game strat.
Yeah, very possible. Morphling is going to be banned out, so two of the more popular carries taken out. TA still around. Worth mentioning, IG is going to have the next pick, but they do kind of have their mid locked down. We could see TA running a tri lane like we saw last time. Worked for TongFu. If it works for the enemy, doesn't mean you shouldn't try it yourself. And we'll see what they're going to do. But this has been one of the more fun best of threes I've casted in a while. It has been very weird at a number of points. But either way, we've gotten to see both teams execute in a lot of different ways. We've gotten to see them make some mistakes and watch how they capitalize on that respectively. And now we're going to have Broodmother come out. So, looks like we got our safe lane, or our long lane, I should say.
I think this is actually a pretty good pick for IG because of the fact that they already have a Leshrac and a Sand King. I can't help but think those heroes are going to be together.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I mean, some of the Asian teams like running Brood with a support and just putting it in the safe lane, but I don't really think that we're going to be seeing a long lane Invoker, so they might just put the Invoker mid, Brood in the safe lane with a support, and then have something like a double stun, or maybe even a tri-lane top. It is possible. I still feel like having the Brood in the safe lane is a safer option, not only because, of course, you're in the quote-unquote safe lane, but because, again, you can get farm for your support, where otherwise they're going to be very under-leveled and have no gold.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you more of an advantage. It's almost like having a jungler because of the way that the Broodlings work. So we'll see if they want to go that route. And the thing is, if TongFu thinks that Brood's going top and they pre-sentry the lane and the Brood's not there, then that's money wasted. I mean, that's pretty much just money in the bank for IG. And again, I mean, it's a really strong lane too. Just having any support there with a Brood, they can kill pretty easily. I think people really underestimate that. You can chase people past the tower with Broodlings. The nuke is very strong. It does 300 at max rank, and plus any support ban. It's not really a bad dual lane.
No, not at all. So some definitely some interesting picks coming out this time around. Changing up what we've seen so far. A little surprised. Dragon Knight. Going to come out. That kind of throws a curveball into things. Dragon Knight, we don't really see him run mid by the Asians like we do in the Western scene. Seems like he goes mid more often than not in the West anyway. And Night Stalker, going to round things out for IG. Very strong if you're looking for a very solid silence, and I think IG might be in a position to capitalize more on the mid-game potential now. And especially if they decide to go ahead and farm that Night Stalker during the first night, instead of having him roam around a ton. Just allow him to get to where he needs to be. That way when the second night rolls around, they're just going to be able, I mean, between Leshrac, Void, Burrow Strike, Split Earth, not Disruption, Cold Snap, Tornado, they've just got so many ways to disable one or small groups of heroes that if they play their cards right and don't make a lot of mistakes early, they're going to be so potent in the mid-game.
I believe that's definitely going to be the case for IG. The thing is, after seeing the Night Stalker pick, I'm thinking tri-lane for sure with the Night Stalker. They can't really lane anything else. The Sand King has to have somewhere to go, and it's not like he's going to be going with the Brood. I mean, I guess he could. It's not like you need to be ranged to farm the jungle with Spiderlings if the Brood does go to the safe lane. But after seeing that, I just feel like they're going to be going for the triple nuke, double stun, and a slow, and being able to solidify some kind of early kill out for this Night Stalker at the very least. Beastmaster, last pick out from TongFu. I like it, especially just because they pick Night Stalker up. Anytime you can have a Roar, a Boar, no rhyme intended. And obviously, if you want to go for something like a Necronomicon 2, that's always a possibility. I think that's a very underused hero, to be totally honest. I think that Beastmaster is a hero that we might be seeing more and more closer to the International, as teams are kind of reverting back to these older school type picks. Brood and Night Stalker, two heroes that we couldn't go a game without seeing a couple of months ago.
Oh, yeah.
And recently, they just haven't been seeing too much play. So things have kind of revolved a little bit in terms of how the picks are done. And depending on how they lane this, I think it's really going to be who gets the advantage in the early game. And I'm kind of favoring IG at the moment. I mean, you have, like I said, stun, slow, and a Brood to deal with. So we'll see what they're going to choose to do here.
Well, let's run through our lineup. So we got the moment. Zal going to be playing on our Brood. Night Stalker going to be played by YYF. No surprise, third game in a row, Ferrari playing our Invoker. Faith going to be handling Leshrac, and Chuan playing our Sand King. On the other side of the river, TongFu going to be running Awoke on our Enchantress. Beastmaster going to be played by Kabu. Beastmaster played by Mu, our MVP from game number 2. Sansheng, no surprise, on our Shadow Demon. And Hao playing on our Dragon Knight. Now, so far as TongFu, especially as they move through, like, they're going to have a little bit of a challenge. Well, more than a little bit of a challenge. They're going to have a hell of a challenge surviving the mid-game onslaught that is bound to come out of IG if IG gets a decent start. They don't even have to have an excellent start, just a decent start. Just the way their heroes work in terms of abilities is going to allow them to really take control of the map in the mid-game. But so far, as TongFu hopefully pushing it to an advantageous position towards the late game, 30, 40 minutes in, we got to keep an eye on Hao. Hao has to have a good start. If he gets down when the mid-game does arrive, we're just going to see IG prioritize keeping him further down and basically keeping him as a non-factor. So Hao going to be joined by Shadow Demon and Enchantress in the tri-lane at top. No surprise there it is. Going to be Brew versus Invoker in mid. And the tri-lane of Leshrac, Sand King, and Night Stalker. So, as expected, pretty much all around.
Yeah, like I said, when I saw the last pick out the Night Stalker, it was pretty obvious that IG was going to be running a tri-lane. Not really surprised there. But again, TongFu knew that the Brood was going to be here. I mean, making that last pick, the Night Stalker, was just insanely obvious what their laning phase was going to be. So now Zhao's going to be having a very, very hard time. Whereas maybe if they switched up the lanes just a bit, the Night Stalker wouldn't have had as good a free farm, but the Brood would have had total free farm. And I think that might have solidified them a better mid-game, because if the Brood gets big fast, you have to worry about always committing heroes to those towers. I'm not going to say it's going to be a blunder for laning, but it was predictable coming out of IG.
Yeah. Very much agreed. Again, Brood, not going to be able to do much to DK right now. And you have to think this is something they're going to look to change before long. Especially, I mean, Beastmaster just not going to be able to hold his own too well in this tri-lane. We'll see him back out to start stacking the agents before too terribly long. And when that happens, I think we're going to see our Sand King, maybe even Sand King and Leshrac, head top to try and make sure DK at least has some interruption to what is probably going to be largely free farm. Mu has been struggling a bit here against Ferrari, by the way. He's come very close to dying twice, pretty much. And that we're actually seeing Beastmaster hang around there for that exact reason. Has to try and keep this panda safe. The death of Mu, like, one death's a big deal, especially if it's a first blood. If he dies twice, though, against Invoker, it's a huge deal. Like, it's just, like, game-changing.
Well, he's only having a hard time because he started with a fast bottle build. That means you don't get his stout, so he's taking a lot of right-click damage. Now that he has it up, he's not going to be struggling too much. I think that IG made a really good play, too. They actually counter-warded the Ancients as soon as they saw the Beastmaster pull, so now, as opposed to getting something, he's going to get absolutely nothing. And he's going to run down this Leshrac here. Doesn't have Edicts, so Faith going to take quite a bit of damage, but I don't think he's actually going to die. Actually, he might.
There go the axes. Faith doubling back. Burrow Strike going to buy him some time. Now the Split Earth follow-up. Kabu, perhaps overcommitting a bit, takes a lot of damage, and now with the healed up Leshrac, got to realize he's in some trouble. Axe is up in 1 second, Burrow Strike up as well. Chuan not going to spend it, though. So everyone makes it back to safety. No first blood on the board yet. Very close a couple of times now. Mu beginning to pound on Ferrari a bit. In the meantime, up at top, DK doing okay. Got 17 last hits, leads everyone in lane. 22, the leader overall. Our Enchantress in the jungle, and now Awoke brings Enchantress up to this top lane. Looks like they want to go ahead and start taking a tower.
It's the right call to make. I mean, when you have a tri-lane with an Enchantress, especially, if there's no one here that you can kill, then at the very least get the tower. We saw the rotation already of the Brood just making his way to the jungle, and that's really all he can do at this point. He actually got fairly lucky. The Troll Warlord camp, one of the easiest ones to kill, especially, and there's actually going to be 4 up here from TongFu. Looks like the level 1 Beastmaster wants to make his appearance up here. So Kabu's like, you know what? I can't ancient stack. Forget that. I'm going to go beat on a tower.
Yep. Tower does drop very quick. 3.5 minutes in. First tower down. Brood has made the way back to top lane now. Gonna go ahead and start getting the webs down. We'll see. You know, if I'm TongFu, I keep pushing. Like, I don't see a lot of reason to back out here. Force a reaction out of IG. You have complete control of the game right now. So far as the pace, you can really screw up what they have planned. And yeah, we see Leshrac and Sand King making a beeline over here. With 2 points in Breathe Fire, Hal's going to be kind of scary. I mean, he already spent it once. He's going to have enough mana to do it one more time once the reinforcements do arrive. Zal trying to hold the line. Just, again, and this is beautiful out of TongFu, really. Just forcing the opponent's hand, forcing them to get out of their comfort zone, to change up what they want to do. Even Ferrari forced to pull back out of lane just in case he's needed. Moo, as a result, getting free farm. YYF getting farm as well, though. And just the way this early game's playing out, DK off to the good start he needed, so don't think TongFu's going to have any worries about surviving the mid-game such as it was. And it begins to look like Nightstalker is going to be the hero to watch. He's going to need to have a solid mid-game, going to need to have good farm. Don't think he needs to be out and about ganking in the first night. Instead, think they might want to prioritize farming him up, just to make them that much more potent around 15-20 minutes. But, yeah, I mean, still a lot of Dota to be played. Even see a smoke up now, so IG wants to try and get a kill on the board, may try to dive this Beastmaster. In fact, I'm sure they will. But yeah, I mean, one or two heroes and the way that they handle this early game are really going to make the difference.
Yeah, and I feel so bad for Kabu because YYF played that perfectly. He played it passive, so he didn't know there was a gank coming, but there is pretty much no way he's getting away from this. He even got creep blocked by his own creeps. Traitorous dogs they are. Yeah. Keeping him in place so he could get stunned out there by the Sand King. But that's first blood, man. Going to IG, and that's going to help them get back into the game a bit. Pretty much the entire gold difference is made up of the fact that they had lost the tower. So in terms of overall laning, IG managed to stay relatively afloat. I mean, it was pretty expected that a tri-lane against a solo Brood, the tri-lane's going to get your tower eventually. Yeah. I mean, he got level 1 Sentry to boot. There's just nothing that Zhao could have really done about that. And Hao's going to have free farm. Like you said, he's got treads up already. 33 CS. He's actually one behind Nightstalker, who's the leader of the game. By the way, he looks so freaking cool, man, with his freaking shield and sword and helmet and stuff.
Oh, doesn't he?
I think that's, yeah, I mean, I was looking and I was like, man, I want to buy that stuff. I typically don't, but they just made it look so good.
Yep. I got to admit, man, I've bought a lot. Not a ton. I probably bought 3 or 4 bundles. But I haven't bought that one, actually. I bought the first Dragon Knight 6. I actually like to play Dragon Knight. But, yeah, seeing this one in action, I think I may have to drop a couple of bucks. Go ahead and buy Gabe lunch in a very roundabout way. But TongFu continuing to pressure this top tower, forcing yet another reaction. And this is a good thing. You know, getting YYF out of comfort zone, making him do what hurt them so much, or hurt TongFu so much in game 1. Wander around. Just getting the carries away from farm, making them wander around and commit, and in a lot of cases overcommit to trying to dive and gank. Speaking of, nope, never mind. Moo gets far enough back. Thought for sure we were going to see Stalker try to go. Now on the bottom side, Kabu is going to drop again. Poor guy. Continues to struggle. But, yeah, like YYF is just kind of wandering around now. He's here with Ferrari. He is going to go ahead and get his bottle up. He did opt for a Ring of Basilisk first. So we'll see if he wants to farm or if he's actually going to be looking for kills. Looks like he's kind of splitting farm with Ferrari now, which is fine given that Ferrari is going the Quas Wex build as opposed to Exort. He's not going to be relied on to deal a lot of damage in the early stages of the game. Looks like they just really want to shut Moo down, at least for the moment. YYF is going to go ahead and head down towards the Roche pit. They may decide to take a tower here, maybe even dive Kabu. This will be the 3rd time. Yeah, Kabu, poor guy.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Wrong time to go stack the Ancients, buddy. Gets caught out, and we can hear the Edict on the backside. They're going to go ahead and try to take the tower. We'll have another Void up. Yep, there it is. Another death for our poor, forlorn Beastmaster and IG. And now this is kind of a problem as well, allowing the supports to get more or less free farm. Sand King and Leshrac now able to split the farm. And we've seen time and time again, as important as the carries are, if you can get your supports with full inventories, that can oftentimes be enough to screw up a well-farmed carry's idea for a late game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a matter of who has the overall better farm.
Yep.
So in this case, I mean, TongFu is making the right call. They're going to push top. Dragon Form is popped by the DK, which helps you push quite a bit. And Shadow Demon's doing what he can with the Shadow Poison, leveling that up over, getting the max rank of Soul Catcher. And we might see an engagement here, too.
Yep, Hal in some trouble. And YYF going to be there. Yep, Hal is going to drop for sure. That kill's going to go to Invoker. Overcommitting a bit. And, this is just, like, it's hard to call that a mistake because I agree it is the right call. But when you have a Night Stalker that's going to be able to TP in at any time, and it's not a matter of, oh, okay, I see the TP coming in, so I'll run. Oftentimes, if you wait until you see the TP coming, it's too late because Night Stalker's going to land, he's going to run you down, and he's going to hit you with a Void, and you're boned. And, I mean, that's pretty much what happened there. 4-zip favoring IG right now. 500 gold the differential right now, though. So it's not as if TongFu's completely falling out of this game. It's really well played on both sides. Brood continues to struggle a bit, but does have the Soul Ring up now. And, yeah, I mean, it's... Again, I feel like it's turning into a war between DK and Night Stalker. I mean, still, again, Enchantress has been pretty quiet, by the way. It's something worth pointing out. Awoke has just kind of been free farming the jungle. Looks like building towards drums. No surprise, and as soon as I open my big mouth, gonna go ahead and take 2 Centaurs and move out. And gonna be spotted. Moo's there. Clap's gonna slow YYF down, but there's the silence. And now, YYF trying to make a run for it. The Centaurs bought some time instead. Awoke. Looks like it's just going to be a Fed kill. No, actually going to make it out. Didn't think the disruption was going to keep him alive, but it was. TP reaction now from IG. And wow, San Shang just melting to Ferrari right now. Off goes the lightning from our Leshrac. Faith giving pursuit. Moo reassembles himself. Edict should be enough to bring down Awoke, and it is. Make it 5-zip. Little surprised. 1 kill was all we had out of that, but either way, another kill goes in favor of Invictus. Make it 2. Actually, 6-zip now. As YYF. Oh, wow. Faith is going to be caught out, but now here... Oh, actually. Moo's there. Breathe fire, more than enough, but Void doing a lot of damage. Edict, not going to be enough to melt Hal down. But finally, at least, TongFu gets on the board.
A 1 kill is better than nothing, but Hao didn't carry a TP right there, man. That's so important, especially when your hero who has a stun. It's 400 range when you pop the Dragon Form. They could have at the very least contested that fight rather than just letting the Night Stalker and Ferrari run all over them. I'm not really sure why he waited so long to react to that, especially because Moo got silenced straight off, so his ult was going to be late because the Night Stalker was the person that they decided to engage on, which I guess in itself you could say is a little bit of a weird call, but just in general, IG is looking really strong so far. I'm not entirely sure, like, the gold swing for them right now is all because of kills. Every single kill that they have is the reason why the gold lead is so important, because the CS is actually very even between the both teams. And really largely, again, it's Kabu. I mean, I'm not trying to rag on him or anything, but he's basically the liability. He has half his team's deaths. And before that last team fight, he had all of them, basically.
Impetus doing good damage to Ferrari, but now YYF's back. He's got the silence. Disruption buys a little bit of time. Off goes the EMP. Gonna connect. YYF actually still has mana, though. Moo is gonna drop. Kabu's there with the axes doing mass AoE damage. Looks like Awoke's gonna drop as well. They just can't drop Night Stalker. Way too strong, had too good of a start. And this is what we expected, this middle stage of the game. There's just nothing that can be done. This is gonna be a 3rd kill. And that's actually gonna go to Leshrac. Now, though, Hal shows up and brings the pain. Lets them know Daddy's home. Chasing YYF. Who's going to make it back to safety, so they get 1. I mean, again, it's better than nothing, but they trade 3 to get it. And, as you point out, you don't want to rag on Kabu. Same reason I don't want to rag on Awoke, but generally speaking, when you go with an Enchantress pick, Enchantress's success and in correlation, the way that she's able to add or take away from the success of her team is based on her coming out of the jungle at opportune times and maximizing the fact that she could smoke up. She's so strong at early levels. And Awoke just hasn't done that. Awoke has not been the most important person on the map. And really, if you're going to pick Enchantress, it's kind of a waste to have Enchantress just farming in the jungle.
Well, Enchantress does have a reasonable damage output once you get to level 6, but yeah, Awoke hasn't really been seen too much this game. They've only gotten 1 tower at this point, which is really a problem, especially considering, again, it was a tri-lane with a jungler versus a Brood.
Yeah.
And they took so long to push the tier 2 that there was just ultimately reaction time out of IG, and it was fast enough for them to basically defend their tier 2. They didn't have to worry about it anymore. And after that point, it's like, it's not like a Chen where you still have Hand of God and a quick mech up to where you can just fight and feel pretty comfortable. Right. Enchantress is a very different hero. She needs a little bit of momentum. Impetus is good for damage output, but it's not enough to solidify yourself just a guaranteed team fight win. And because of the fact that the Beastmaster had like the worst start imaginable, he's not even halfway to level 5 right now and it's 13 minutes into the game. I mean, he's not going to have Roar to stop the Night Stalker, which they very, very desperately need. They have a Shadow Demon, and a pretty good stun with a DK, but that's not enough. They need more.
Right.
I mean, the Night Stalker had too good of a start in comparison to the rest of TongFu's team.
Yep. Well, in theory, they have a roar coming out of their Beastmaster right now, looking like it could be 20 minutes before he actually gets it up. But, I mean, he is getting a little farm in mid, so maybe a little sooner than that. But, yeah, no, I agree completely. I mean, again, it's not that Awoke is played especially badly, but the main advantage that an Enchantress pick gives you is, one, pushing towers, and two, coming out of the jungle with Enchant for early ganks. And it just hasn't happened. We just haven't seen that capitalized upon at all. And as you point out, Impetus did good damage there. It just didn't matter. The team composition of TongFu just cannot match up with the composition of Invictus right now. They're just behind. 71 last hit, 64 on Brew. That's at least in good shape. Broodmother has caught up a smidge. Same for Night Stalker. He's in good range. Everyone's pretty well farmed here. On the backside, we see Dust thrown out. TongFu looking like they want to try and get something done in this top lane once again. Only Brood there for the moment. Kabu kind of by himself, now trying to axe down these Ancients, get himself back in a position, get him into a position where he can actually use Roar. In the meantime, Vladimir's offering is the first item choice out of Night Stalker, so he's definitely, and I think this plays into what we talked about. When you're going to go with something like that early on, you're going to be looking to win this game real soon. You're not looking to push this game late. You want this game over with by 30 minutes if you're going to go Vlad's that early on a Night Stalker.
It helps out the Brood. I mean, it buffs every single one of the Lings to boot. It's a really, really good item. It helps Sand King out a little bit. It gives you the armor, the base damage. I mean, it's just a very, very strong item, and for the cost, it's like one of the best items to have in the early phases of the game. Yep. So I think it's a really good pickup. He's probably going to go a Vitality Booster on top of that, maybe look for a Vanguard. Just go for a very tanky-oriented build as you smoke up mid. Could see a dead DK here.
Hal is going to be locked in place. Yeah, never had a chance to even spin the Epicenter, just to make sure they bring him down. Now, with the loss of that DK so often is an anchor sort of a hero. He just anchors your team, allows you to defend, allows you to attack if he's way up front. He's only going to be down 20 seconds, so IG not going to capitalize on that. But again, just having him down for that amount of time, taking him off the map, slowing him down in terms of levels and farm, that's what really begins to hurt you. In the meantime, we see Brood coming into her own a little bit, joined by Ferrari. They do go ahead and take down the Tier 1 top tower. And IG just kind of setting up shop here in mid. Looks like they do want to force a fight soon. Kabu still, well, actually has reached 6. Looks like he did manage to kill all those Ancients. Needs the mana to be able to do it. Does have a soul ring, so that's handy. And again, Awoke. Just seems like every time I think about Enchantress, I look at Enchantress as standing by herself. She's just not getting a lot done. And again, I'm not blaming on the player per se, more on the strategy employed by TongFu right now. I feel like they're missing out. They've missed out on a lot of potential already. And, you know, now's the time when Enchantress kind of starts to settle down once she's done her early game work. But there just hasn't been a lot done. So all she can do now is try to be a big part of pick and push by using Enchant, trying to heal the teammates up, and by doing a little extra damage from the periphery via Impetus. But just feel like TF may have squandered a bit of an opportunity in using her early on.
Well, they got the one tower, but other than that, I mean, she just hasn't really been doing anything. And it's not like she's, like you said, she didn't do anything wrong necessarily. Yeah. It's just that the laning phase didn't give her an opportunity for her to make anything else happen. As soon as we saw the reaction out from IG and they defended their tier 2, there was kind of this feeling of, well, they're going to be doing that no matter where I go now, especially at tier 1s, which are much easier to defend in themselves. And let's think of how early they were there. They were there before 10 minutes at the tier 2. And we saw Leshrac and Sand King run from all the way
good
down.
Tornado EMP. That's going to catch everyone. Moo even, way far forward. Let's see if IG wants to take advantage here. I'm surprised TongFu wants to try and force the issue. There's no roar coming out of Beastmaster anytime soon. And yeah, they're going to go ahead and charge back out. That was a beautiful Tornado EMP. Caught 4 of the 5. And that's enough to keep that engagement from happening. Although really, I mean, the Tornado EMP is great, but this is a time when IG wants to engage. They're at the advantage. Zal continues to do his thing in the jungle with Brood. So capitalizing on that as well, getting good farm. Now leading in last hits as expected for this at this point in the game, 100. And DK not doing a bad job at all, 86. On the backside, looks like we are going to have a roar come out. It's going to catch Ferrari. Ferrari might be in some trouble. Off goes the Dust as well. But in comes Sand King. Oh, wow, Split Earth as well. And that is what you call a money epi. Oh, wow. Chuan didn't get there soon enough to save his buddy, but got there in time to just melt TongFu.
Well, I mean, that's one way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Killing 4 people with 1 epi. It's alright. Does okay. Last I checked.
I mean, as much as I want to add analysis to that, what do I say?
Yeah.
I mean, Chuan just had the Burrow Strike epicenter right on point. It was just perfect.
Big plays, I think, is about all the analysis we need. IG, again, cracks this game wide open. The game was relatively close until that right there. Still in range, still within striking distance of TongFu. But their job has got a whole lot harder. Sand King now, he's got his arcs, he's earned 6 charges on that. Night Stalk, and that's a fight. Anytime they can do something like that and not even have to involve the Night Stalker, you know you're in pretty damn good shape. And I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, 10,000, jeez. 10,000 gold differential in 19 minutes. So, never mind. I said the TF's in striking distance. They're not. That's a lie. I lied. I made a mistake, and I'm sorry. IG. This is their game to lose.
It really is, and I think they're going to be hard-pressed to lose at this point. It's 14-3, man, at 20 minutes and a 10,000 gold lead. That's a tall order for any team.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you consider the team better than the other, which I think in this case, TongFu and IG are both very, very good. I think these are teams that can take games off each other, and they have. I mean, even today, it's a 1-1 right now. Whoever wins this game takes the best of 3, and it just seems like IG has the better momentum this game. They had the better strategy, I feel. Their laning phase just went amazingly well, and now Brood has a BKB, a Midas, Tread, Soul Ring at 20 minutes into the game, and he was against a tri-lane, got level 1 sentried, and this is what happens when a Brood is picked. I mean, they did everything in their power to keep this Brood down, even killed her tower at, like, I don't know, 4 minutes into the game, and now look at her farm. She just hasn't died, and this is the difference between a long lane hero who can actually accomplish something and somebody like a Beastmaster who all you can really do on him is stack the Ancients, and it was countered.
Yeah.
So I gotta say, man, I feel like IG had a bit of an outdraft here, and overall just outlane, like everything, they just did better, like everything.
Yeah, I agree. I think in a lot of circumstances I wouldn't necessarily call it an outdraft, except for the fact that the way TF decided to play their lineup makes it an outdraft. But that makes sense. Like, if they had played it differently, and yeah, it's easy to look back and go, well, obviously they should have done X, Y, and Z, therefore that is the right way to play Dota. I'm not trying to do that. But if they're going to play a passive Enchantress whose only job is to push towers and then go, well, we pushed 1 tower down, now we're too scared to push anymore. If that's what you're going to do with Enchantress, don't pick Enchantress. It's a waste. You basically picked a hero who is very, very strong for the first 20 minutes, and you're only playing her for 5 minutes. It just doesn't, because of that, I feel like they were outdrafted if that's the plan they had in mind to begin with. But, moving on, game's not over, still Dota to be played. IG in a commanding position. TongFu, though, not about to give up. They want to win here as bad as anyone else. And as we get closer to our finals, we got some substantial money on the line. $1,000 goes to the winner of itsgosu's monthly madness. Well, we have a little bit of a lull here. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Never mind, Chuan, make sure we don't have a lull. EMP is going to connect. Burrow Strike. And Moo can't get off the ulti. Dies? Are you kidding me? Dies on the ward spot. Wow. IG getting kills when they really damn well shouldn't.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice to blink up to the high ground like that. Even if they were counter-warding, I mean, it's definitely dangerous, and we just saw the result right there. Cold Snap procs fast enough to the point where you can't animate anything. You can't animate Blink, you can't animate your ultimate as Brewmaster, which I think is actually a faster cast time than Blink even, so. Just in general, TongFu seems to be a bit out of place this game. I mean, it's 15-3. What else can you say? IG is just completely running them over at this point.
Yep. It is what it is. 12,000 gold separates these two teams. 14,000 experience, give or take. Yeah, IG just doesn't care. They're just going to cut the creeps, take this tower, begin pushing on towards Rax. It's very well played out of both sides, for the most part. This feels... I hate to put myself at risk for ridicule for saying this, but it feels like TongFu really weren't all on the same page. It feels, you know, again, they're a professional team, so you damn well know they were. But just the way that this played out, it feels like they were playing towards different goals. It doesn't feel like they were unified in what this lineup was going to accomplish. I mean, early on, yeah, they did fine. But as the game's worn on, they've just kind of fallen apart, and they've had this kind of scatterbrained feeling. Like no one knows where to be. Awoke in particular has seemed really out of sorts. Like Every time, again, every time I flash the camera to check Awoke's items, he's kind of out by himself, not doing anything of value.
Yeah, I mean, again, he was put in a position where it's like the best he could have done was kill a top-tier tower, the tier 2, that's it. I mean, outside of that, they had a tri-lane bottom, so it's not like he's going to be able to do anything there. Middle is an Invoker, so in order to kill him, they're going to have to buy Dust. They know Ferrari's going Quas-Wex. So, I mean, there were countermeasures that could have been taken, but it was just too little too late. I honestly feel like this is just an outpick and an outlane. And when you're in a position like that, it's hard to say that a jungler should accomplish more because they just put themselves in a bad spot.
Moo's going to go ahead and engage, gets a clap off. BKBs are up. There's the roar from a distance. Doesn't get much done, however. And now BKB's all around. Just a slugfest here in the shambles of the Tier 2 tower. Broodmother making a run. Epicenter doing good damage, though. And yeah, and now we see TongFu. And this is what you expect. With a team like IG's that is just so potent at this stage of the game, you're going to have these fights feel this way. And this goes for all cases. Whenever you have a team that is just so much stronger in the mid-game, you're going to have these fights where in the beginning when everyone's blowing their BKBs and using their abilities, it looks even. Then once the health bars hit about half, it just gets completely out of hand. And yeah, that's going to be enough to prompt the GG. Put it in the books. TongFu drops 2-1 in favor of Invictus Gaming. IG heading for the semifinals of Monthly Madness Asia.
I'm very, very impressed with the way IG recovered from that second game loss. It felt like TongFu had some fighting spirit left, but they just couldn't quite seal the deal for Game 3. Unfortunately, they're going to have to take their leave. I mean, TongFu is obviously a great team. IG just brought their A-game today, man, especially in Game 3. That I think that they were actually angry when they lost the second game, and I guess after the result of seeing them angry, you wouldn't like IG when they're angry. That's what I'll say. Because they just completely dominated TongFu in Game 3, man. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, the one thing that I want to say, too, in regards to this Enchantress for this game, Awoke did basically the only thing he could do. I mean, if he tried to smoke gank mid, he tried to do anything else going into a tier 1 as an Enchantress against a Night Stalker who was already carrying TPs before 10 minutes, he would have just basically been food for that Night Stalker. There's really nothing else that can be said. I mean, he ended the game at 1-4 and he wasn't even that active. No. So if you're going to run a tri-lane, I think that what TongFu can probably take away from this is the fact that aggressive tri-lane and Enchantress, in my opinion, is a better way to do it against a solo hero in the safe lane. If you know that that's going to be the case, that's when you run the Enchantress, because it's not like a Chen where you can get, like I said, Arcane Boots mech and still be tanky, have the utility to send people back to base, get the Hand of God up, and help your team. Enchantress doesn't really fit that role. Nature's Attendants are not good enough of a heal to warrant picking the hero and a defensive play. So in that regard, I think you are right, but I think that the IG, man, just really freaking good team.
Very good, very scary, and very much on their way to our semifinals. We're going to be working out the schedule, but as I understand it, tomorrow we're going to have both of our semifinal matchups, 2 best-of-3s played out tomorrow. We'll get the time and the date to you on that as quickly as possible. And then Sunday, Championship Sunday here with itsgosu's Monthly Madness Asia. $1,000 going to be on the line in a best-of-5 matchup after we play out our semifinals. Thank you for being here. Once again, I'm AC, that's Draskell. Fantastic performance out of Chuan in particular. I'm going to give him my MVP for 1 and 10 with a big plays epicenter. Always a lot of fun.
I had a blast, man. I can't believe that Chuan epi above the roof. I was like, I saw that and I was just like, well, I mean, they all just kind of died, so. Yep. Burrow Strike epi hitting 4 people, that tends to happen, especially when everyone on TongFu is just so severely underfarmed. I mean, they had 3 kills. 3. One of which actually didn't even go to their team.
Yeah. Let's not dwell on it. Let's look ahead to the future. Again, thank you for being here, guys. All of the action today brought to you by our fantastic sponsors, NOS Energy Drink, Own 3D TV, Max Integration, Team Razor, and of course, itsgosu.com. You can find all the details about this and all of our other events, not just for Dota, but for every game under the sun at itsgosu.com. You can find me on Twitter if you want to keep up with me. I'm at AC and Draskell. Where can they find you, buddy?
They can find me at Draskell, man. That's my Twitter that I promise I will try to use more in the future.
I'll tell you, dude, I didn't used to tweet a lot, but once you kind of get into the habit of it, like, you find yourself just tweeting about anything. Like, it seems kind of goofy, but, like, anytime I find a cool video, even if it's not related to Dota, I tweet about it, so. It's fun, man. I try to mention you on Twitter, get you more active, and hopefully more followers will make you more active as well. So go follow Draskell and follow me as well. IG goes 2-1 over TongFu. And again, make sure you keep up with itsgosu.com, and we'll let you know as soon as we confirm all the times. If all goes to plan, both semifinal matches will be played tomorrow. In the meantime, as usual, Ronald Jinkies with Almost Undamaged going to take us out. We'll see you tomorrow, guys.